Family. It is supposed to be the foundation of love, trust, and support. But what happens when the very people you sacrifice everything for are the ones who betray you the most? This is not a story of strangers or enemies. It is the story of blood, of betrayal, and of the bitter taste of favoritism. For 10 years, I gave my life to building something from scratch, brick by brick, sleepless night after sleepless night, only for my parents to hand it over to my younger sister as if I was nothing more than a temporary placeholder. But sometimes, fate has a way of turning tables. And when their lawyer opened the envelope containing the Real will, everyone in the room froze. Because what was written inside was not what they expected. My name is Chinedu Okafor, the eldest son of Chief and Madam Okafor. Born in Enugu, Nigeria, my life had always been a mix of tradition and ambition. My father, a respected businessman, always believed in the idea of legacy. He would often say, "A man who dies without leaving an empire behind has failed his children." Ironically, the empire he left behind was the one I built, yet almost taken from me. I was only 21 when I decided not to follow my peers abroad. While many of my university classmates were applying for scholarships to America or the UK, I stayed back. Why? Because I believed in home. I believed Nigeria had potential, even if many dismissed it. My parents had a trading company then, dealing mostly in cement and building materials. But I saw a new opportunity. Real estate. I pitched the idea to my father countless times, showing him charts, projections, and land surveys. He waved me off. "This your book knowledge, it will not put food on the table," he said. So I went ahead on my own. With the little inheritance my late uncle left me, just 2 million naira, I started Okafor Properties Limited. It was a tiny office at first, barely bigger than a store, with one rusty table and a fan that worked when PHCN remembered us. I did everything myself, marketing, paperwork, even sweeping the floors. The first years were brutal. I was scammed twice by land agents. One project failed completely when the government demolished the area for road expansion. My father laughed at me. My mother pitied me. But my younger sister, Amarachi, watched me closely. Amarachi was 3 years younger than me, beautiful and brilliant but spoiled to the core. While I worked late nights, she went to fashion shows in Lagos, flaunted designer bags, and lived off the money my father provided. She never lifted a finger to earn. But me? I kept pushing. By the 5th year, things changed. I had managed to secure partnerships with banks for mortgage schemes. Slowly, middle-class families began trusting us. We built affordable housing estates, and word spread. Investors started calling. By the 10th year, Okafor Properties Limited was a powerhouse in the region, worth billions. That was when my parents suddenly became interested. One evening, my father called me to the family house. I thought he wanted to congratulate me. Instead, he said words that nearly broke me. "Chinedu, your mother and I have been thinking. You have done well. But it is time to hand over the company to someone with a softer touch, someone who can manage relationships. Your sister Amarachi will be the new CEO." At first, I laughed. I thought it was a bad joke. But the seriousness in his eyes told me it wasn't. "Papa, are you telling me, after 10 years of my sweat, my tears, my sleepless nights, you want me to hand everything over to someone who has never worked a single day in her life?" I asked. My mother, calm as ever, replied, "Chinedu, you are a man. You can start another business. But your sister, she needs security. She is a woman. Who'll take care of her if not us?" I couldn't breathe. Their words felt like daggers. Everything I had worked for, dismissed, undervalued, and handed away because of favoritism and outdated ideas. The worst part? Amarachi sat there smirking, as though she had been waiting for this moment all along. "Don't worry, brother," she said sweetly. "I'll take care of the company." That night, I didn't sleep. My mind kept replaying everything, my sacrifices, the betrayals, the shameless entitlement. But beneath the anger, I remembered something. Something my father had forgotten. Years earlier, when I registered Okafor Properties Limited, I had done it independently. My name was the sole signatory, the majority shareholder, and the founding director. My parents had never contributed a single naira, nor did they appear on any legal document. I had made sure of it after seeing how my uncle's business was taken from him by greedy relatives. I had even gone further. I wrote my own private will, witnessed and sealed, stating the future of the company in the event of my death. It was airtight, and it had been sitting with my trusted lawyer, Barrister Adeyemi, for years. Still, I wanted to test them. I wanted to see how far they would go. 2 weeks later, they organized a family gathering. My uncles, aunts, and even some extended relatives were present. The atmosphere was celebratory, as though a coronation was about to happen. My father stood proudly in front of everyone and announced, "Today, I officially hand over the legacy of this family to my daughter, Amarachi. She will be the CEO of Okafor Properties Limited. Chinedu has done well, but it is time for him to allow his sister to shine." Applause followed. Amarachi stood up, glowing in a designer gown, thanking everyone. I sat quietly, my jaw clenched, my fists hidden under the table. Then I stood. The room fell silent. Papa, Mama, uncles, aunties. I thank you all. But before we proceed, I believe there is something important we must all see. Something that defines the real ownership of Okafor Properties Limited. My parents frowned. Amarachi rolled her eyes. My father barked. "What nonsense are you talking about? This is my decision." I ignored him and signaled to a man at the back of the hall. It was Barrister Adeyemi. He carried a brown envelope. As he walked to the front, whispers spread through the room. I looked directly at my parents. "You see, Papa, Mama, while you were busy doubting me, I was protecting myself. This envelope contains the documents that prove who truly owns Okafor Properties Limited. It also contains my will, the real will, that states what happens to everything I have built." The lawyer placed the envelope on the table, opened it, and began to read. And in that moment, the air in the room shifted. My parents' confident faces started to crack. Amarachi's smirk disappeared. Because the truth they had buried under favoritism and entitlement was about to be exposed, line by line, clause by clause. The lawyer adjusted his glasses, his voice steady as he read from the document. "This is the last will and testament of Mr. Chinedu Okafor, duly signed, witnessed, and sealed. Clause 1. Okafor Properties Limited is established solely by me, with 100% ownership vested in my name as the founder and majority shareholder. My parents, siblings, or relatives hold no legal rights to the company unless expressly transferred by me." The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. My father shifted uncomfortably, my mother's face drained of color, and Amarachi's jaw fell open. The lawyer continued. Clause 2. In the event of my incapacitation or death, all shares and controlling rights of Okafor Properties Limited will be placed under a trust managed by my appointed trustees, not family members, unless specified. The trustees are to ensure that the company continues to serve its mission of providing affordable housing for middle-class Nigerians. Gasps rippled through the hall. Some of my uncles began whispering, confused. They had come expecting a simple coronation for Amarachi, only to realize the foundation of that dream was already crumbling. My father slammed his fist on the table. "This is rubbish. I am your father, Chinedu. This company is part of my legacy." I turned to him, my voice steady but filled with the weight of years of sacrifice. "With all due respect, Papa, you didn't believe in this company when I started it. You never gave me a kobo, not even advice. I built it from the ground up. I lived in a one-room apartment, skipped meals, and faced humiliation just to see it grow. And now, after 10 years, you want to hand it over to someone who never lifted a finger for it?" My mother tried to intervene, her tone softer. Chinidu, we only wanted to secure Amarachi's future. You are strong, you are capable, you can always build again. I looked at her, my heart aching. Mama, do you hear yourself? So my future doesn't matter? My sacrifice doesn't matter? I am not a tool to build empires for others while I start over again and again. Amarachi finally spoke, her voice sharp and dripping with entitlement. So what, brother? Are you trying to say I don't deserve anything? Because I am a woman? Because I chose a different path? I turned to her, my eyes hard. You don't deserve the fruits of a tree you never planted, Amarachi. If you want wealth, go and work for it the way I did. Nothing in life is handed on a silver platter, not even from family. The lawyer resumed reading. Clause 3, in recognition of my family ties, I will make provisions. A monthly stipend shall be allocated to my parents from the company profits, enough to secure their comfort. For my sister, Amarachi, a trust fund will be created with a fixed allowance. However, she will hold no executive power or controlling stake in the company unless she works her way up through merit, as any other employee would. The hall erupted with murmurs. My uncles nodded approvingly. Some even clapped quietly. For the first time, people saw fairness, not favoritism. My father sat down heavily, stunned. My mother looked at Amarachi, whose face was red with humiliation. She had expected to be crowned queen of a kingdom she didn't build. Instead, she was being given a seat in the audience. I stood tall, my voice echoing through the hall. Family is not about exploiting the hard work of one child to feed the laziness of another. If you raised us with love, then you should know, respect is earned, not forced. And legacy belongs to those who build it, not those who demand it. The silence that followed was heavy. But it wasn't the silence of defeat. It was the silence of truth sinking in. The lawyer placed the final page on the table and looked up. That is all. This document has been notarized, filed, and remains legally binding unless Mr. Chinidu decides otherwise. For a long moment, nobody moved. The only sound was the faint hum of the ceiling fan above us. My father stared into space, his pride crushed. My mother fiddled with the wrapper on her lap, refusing to meet my eyes. Amarachi looked at me with a mixture of anger and shame, as though I had stolen something that was never hers to begin with. I broke the silence. Papa, Mama. I didn't do this to humiliate you. I did this to protect myself, because for years I have watched how favoritism blinds this family. You raised me to work hard, yet when I did, you wanted to erase me in favor of Amarachi. That is not love. That is betrayal. One of my uncles, an elder with gray hair, cleared his throat. Chief, madam, you must accept the truth. The boy is right. In our time, we fought to build something from nothing. This is his sweat, his creation. You cannot hand it away like palm wine at a festival. Heads nodded around the room. The tide had turned. What was meant to be a ceremony of Amarachi's rise became an open rebuke of my parents' decision. Amarachi finally stood, her voice shaking. Fine, brother. Keep your company. But don't think you've won. You may have the legal documents, but you'll always be alone. You've just made enemies out of your own parents and sister. Her words stung, but I smiled faintly. If standing for myself makes me an enemy, then so be it. I would rather be alone with integrity than surrounded by family that only sees me as a ladder. She stormed out, slamming the door. My mother rushed after her. My father remained seated, staring at the ground like a man who had just lost a war he thought he could never lose. That night, I went home and sat in my office, looking at the city skyline. The lights of the estate buildings we had developed flickered in the distance. For the first time in weeks, I felt peace. Not because I had one, but because I had spoken my truth. Days later, I heard Amarachi complaining on social media, painting me as a greedy brother who denied her a future. Some believed her, others defended me. But I didn't engage. The truth was already written, in ink, in blood, in sweat. Over time, my relationship with my parents changed. They visited less, spoke less, and when they did, there was always tension in the air. A part of me longed for reconciliation, but another part accepted that some wounds don't heal overnight. Yet, life taught me something valuable in all this: love without fairness becomes poison. Families often think sacrifice is an obligation, not a gift. But when you take one child's sacrifice for granted and hand it to another, you don't just break trust, you destroy the foundation of family itself. One evening, as I closed my office, I saw a young man standing by the gate, staring at the building with admiration. He looked barely 20, his shoes dusty, his shirt worn out. He approached me shyly. "Sir, I've been following your story. People say you started with nothing. I want to build something too, but my family laughs at me." I looked at him, and in his eyes, I saw my younger self, the hunger, the fire, the fear. I smiled, placed a hand on his shoulder, and said, "Don't wait for your family's approval. Sometimes the people closest to you will doubt you the most. But if you stay true to your vision, one day they'll have no choice but to see the empire you've built." He nodded, his face brightening. As he walked away, I realized something. Maybe the company wasn't just mine. Maybe it was a story, a living proof that dreams don't need permission, only persistence. And perhaps, that was the real legacy. In the end, I didn't just protect a company. I protected my dignity. My parents gave my sister the crown of a kingdom I built, but the real crown was never theirs to give, it was forged in my hands, through my own sweat and scars. And if there is one lesson my story should teach, it is this: family should be built on fairness, not favoritism. Because the moment you try to silence the child who works hardest, you risk losing the very future you hope to protect.